Hi, and welcome to Spooky Hours. My name's David Saunderson. Tonight we're very pleased to be talking to a chap called Brian J Cano. He's a paranormal researcher, lecturer, and author. He's appeared on many TV shows you may have seen, including the popular Caught on Camera and Haunted Collector. He's coming to Wales later this year. We'll get details from him on there. We're going to have a chat to him about that. We're also going to talk to him about his new book, Grains of Sand, Tales of a Paranormal Life, and some of the other spooky adventures. Especially, he has a traveling haunted exhibition of paranormal objects, which are very keen to talk to him. So I'm going to be joined by Spooky Owl's Ireland editor, Anne Massey. She's also the deputy editor of Spooky Owls, and we'll be chatting to Brian in a couple of moments. So it's going to be exciting. Hi, Anne. How are you?
I'm keeping well, David. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing very well. So we're going to have a chat to Brian today. He'd be well known to a lot of people. You've seen the shows? They're very, very good.
I have. I started off a number of years back. First came across him watching The Haunted Collector, which was a fascinating insight and so different to so many of the other TV shows because it focused more on literally haunted objects, which is, if you like, a subcategory within the paranormal field. And, Brian's down-to-earth approach really kind of struck me. So following on from there, it's a pleasure to be able to talk to him today.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. There's lots of haunted dolls. We're seeing more and more sort of haunted, possessed dolls. And I suppose this is another idea of that. So we'll be having a chat to him. So let's bring Brian on now. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hello, guys. How are you?
We're very well. Just wait, we do this properly here. Just moving us around there. I'm getting used to this. You're coming to Wales, Brian. That's very exciting.
I am. I've been to other parts of the UK, but Wales has been this little hidden away secret that has been there, but doesn't get quite the attention it deserves, and especially in the haunted theater where everyone is crazy about Ireland, crazy about Scotland. People love to go to England, but Wales has so much history, has so many castles, has so much going on for it that I'm chomping at the bit to get there and explore for myself.
I've looked at your itinerary, and I have it. I'll let you talk about that. But I just thought it really is. I know what you're saying about how people get excited about the other parts of the UK and Ireland, but your Welsh trip's pretty good.
I should
You're
say
going
so.
some fantastic places. Can you tell us about some of the places you're going to?
Oof, some of the places in the Wales tour, in the little commercial that I cut for it, I say castles, 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 because literally we're hitting a handful of them. Let me think. You put me on the spot here.
I think you're finishing up towards Skirridin, aren't you?
I believe so. There's Skirridin.
Yeah.
We're also stepping over the border into England to go to the ancient Ram Inn, which is a notorious spot. We'll be at, let's see, day 2. Could pull up
I really have put you on the spot. I'm sorry about that, Brian.
You did.
We'll definitely put all the links in here.
This is a 9-day thing, so all the places we're going, honestly, I'm not looking forward to one specific one. I'm just looking to let it all bask over me, almost like a wave, just a wave of Wales crashing over me.
And I think, Brian, that ties in with your way of investigating, if I'm right, that you like to go into a neutral location. You don't want to know the history and the stuff that goes with it. You want to find it for yourself and then validate it afterwards. Is that right?
Absolutely. She's good. Keep her on the show. Yes, that's exactly right. I find that so much in the paranormal when it comes to the public. They go to events, they watch the TV shows, they watch the programs, and they seek to mimic exactly the things that they saw on television. And I feel, well, if you are lucky enough to be a person in a position to go to those places for yourself, because so many people will only ever see it on TV, they'll never get to go. Why would you want to have the exact same experience that a TV investigator did? Wouldn't it be better to have your own experience, something that's unique? and only yours. And for me, that's exactly the way I investigate, very much like a psychic does. I don't want to know too much about a place before I go in. That being said, I do believe history is important, but I have it off to the side so that anything that I do capture, I'll say, this is weird. I don't know what this is about. Let me now consult the history and find out if there's any places or personalities that line up.
Well, having said that, you are going to some very good places and some very good bucket lists. Now, we were talking before, and I'll leave this to Anne because she was the one that brought it up. A lot of the stuff, one of your famous TV shows was Haunted Collector, and you've got your I want to get the name of it right. It sounds like a traveling museum of haunted objects. What's the proper title for this?
It's the History of the Paranormal Traveling
History of the
Exhibit.
Okay, sorry.
It is not a haunted item
Sorry.
exhibit. There's
Okay.
plenty of people doing that already. They do it well. There's no need to add another one to it. But what is needed out there is a proper examination of what came before. I'm not sure what the first show to pop up in the UK. Maybe it was Most Haunted, which is the one with the three psychics.
There's lots of them.
Could literally be any of them, but Most Haunted had a few as
Most
well.
Haunted. Yeah, you guys probably started with Most Haunted for us. It was Ghost Hunters. In 2004, was an explosion of TV shows over here in the States. And since then, there's been a growing number of them, so much that sometimes television networks get taken over by paranormal programming. But before that, there was a world of exploration that not a lot of people knew about. And on television, in entertainment, it was only around Halloween time that we got to be exposed to it. And for those people who are really into the topics, watching the shows is just the beginning of the journey. It's entertainment. Be entertained by it. But if you want to learn more, there's plenty out there that you can look up. And my History of the Paranormal exhibit is designed to show people, all right, some of the names that came before. Emanuel Swedenborg, the Fox sisters, Mesmer, lots of names, lots of institutions, the SPR. So many people don't know what the SPR is, the Society for Paranormal Research. They just know Jason, Grant, Zach, whatever the current name of the person on TV. And I say, well, my exhibit is going to show you a lot of things. If you leave just knowing one more name or one more concept, and then you take that and you tell your friends, the information gets disseminated in a fun way, and we can all advance together.
So how far back, I think, is it right, you're going back to more like when it became popular in the Victorian era and the beginning of things like seances in the parlours and that kind of thing, and are you then kind of bringing us through the ages up to the latest gadgetry in tandem with the well-known names in the paranormal field that would have been associated with those, the innovators, if you like?
That's right. History-wise, I go back to the mid-1800s for the spiritualist movements. And before that, there's a section on belief, just paranormal in general. And that, for the most part, covers most of human history in that at any given period, there's a belief in something greater. There's a belief in a power, be it a deity or a number of deities, or maybe a king who is deified by God, the Pope, the Vatican. We always have something out there that we put our trust, we put our faith in. And through the paranormal, from the spiritualist movement to the present, we find that belief still very much present, but attributed to different things. And I always say that when it comes to the paranormal and when it comes to life in general, it really is the same thing. You don't have to choose religion versus science. They're flip sides of the same coin, because whichever camp you gravitate towards, it still comes down to faith. You're putting your faith in someone or something, either a higher power or the learned, intelligent men in the white lab coats saying, don't eat this, it'll cause cancer. Either way, we haven't done the research ourselves. We haven't been exposed to it personally. We're just taking it on faith.
Excellent.
You've put this exhibition together. It's obviously a lot of your own. This obviously has been something you've been interested in for a very long time. Can you tell us how you got involved? What was your first experience in the paranormal?
My very first Well, let's rewind all the way back. I was 10 years old. It was 1984. The movie Ghostbusters came out, and that just electrified me. I thought, wow, that's the movie Ghostbusters inspired so many of us, and it was detailed the exploits of three parapsychologists. And when I watched it, I'm 10 years old. I had no idea that parapsychology was in my future. I couldn't have known. But what struck me as different about it was that as a movie, as entertainment, it handled the topic of the paranormal in a different way. Because up until that point, anything you would see about the subject was dark, was evil. The Exorcist, The Omen, Poltergeist. If there is something paranormal, you're going to die. Ghostbusters was a comedy. Ghostbusters says, we're ready to believe you. And they handled it with tech. So no longer was it exclusively the purview of the clergy. You didn't have to call in a priest to help you. You could strap on a proton pack, take care of it yourself. And something subconsciously lay dormant in me for the longest time, because many years later I became the tech guy on Haunted Collector. And I always thought about that it was a very direct line from A to B. But when you're young, when you're a child, you believe in everything. Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Jesus, or insert deity here. And as you get older, you start to lose those figures. One by one, there are explanations and compromises made until you're left with maybe one or none of those figures. And the paranormal, when I was going through a very skeptical phase, a very dark phase. It was right after college. I had a crisis of faith. There's a lot that I said, this is pointless. All the things we do, all the things we celebrate, waste of time, doesn't mean anything. The paranormal brought me back. And in its exploration, I rediscovered wonder. I rediscovered faith. And I think it's a gift. It's that never stop searching and never stop discovering the thing that it gives you. And for me, I know, anytime I get interviewed, they say, "What's the one thing that changed you, or the scariest thing?" I don't have one. There wasn't one single instance that lit the flame. There was lots of little experiences, and I call them grains of sand, because by itself, a grain of sand doesn't seem like much. You don't consider it. You drop it at your feet. But enough of those grains of sand collected over time. Metaphorically speaking, I looked down and I was standing on a beach, and I had to consider what that meant. So that brought me back. And ironically enough, Grains of Sand, new book.
Hey!
There you go. That's a lovely plug there, and very segue. So, how did you move from your obviously from being a little kid watching Ghostbusters to your crisis of faith to getting yourself on television doing paranormal investigation?
Dumb luck. How did I get on TV? I always bristle when people say everything happens for a reason. I Something about it just seems too simplistic, too hallmarky, and I say, that's ridiculous. And if everything happens for a reason, usually that reason is science. However, the instances and events that led up to my being on TV, being on Haunted Collector, doing what I do now, it seems as if the universe was moving things out of the way to put me in this line that I couldn't have planned myself, that I couldn't have arranged if I had tried. And as far as media goes, it all started in 2002 with a cable access show in New York City called Scared on Staten Island. And that was me and several of my friends just kicking about abandoned places, doing more urban exploration than paranormal investigation. But it was the kernel, it was the nugget that really got us started in media.
And that would have been that was the sort of the time that you said there was the explosion of paranormal programs on the telly.
We
Back
came
around
out
that.
we came out 2 years before the explosion, and because of it, we really had nothing to mimic or imitate. So it was just us figuring it out as we went along.
What is it that you liked about A Haunted Collector, Anne?
I think because it you got to really know the people in the places they went to, the homes, whatever. It wasn't, oh, you're scared in your home, we're going to get to the bottom of it. It was more, tell us about yourself, learning the history of the object it might have been in question, and the very different methods that you used. Because Brian, you're the gadget guy, but I distinctly remember one episode where you used as a tool baby powder on the floor, and
It's very
it
old school.
very old school. And I think the fact that you are still able to maintain and see value in using the old school methods while keeping completely up to date, do you think that's a very important part of being, if you want, I suppose, a paranormal all-rounder, to enable you to, whatever the situation, be it a private home, be it a castle, be it a ruin, whatever it may be, in Wales or wherever, do you think it's vital to have the knowledge of all of these kind of techniques in order to be more well-rounded in the field?
Haunted Collector was definitely a learning experience for me. For being on the road with John Zaffis was a crash course in so many different aspects of the work. And even though in the credits, John narrates it out and says, Brian, my tech guy. Yes, I was the tech guy, and I was in charge of the gadgets, the gear. And at the time, that was my primary focus. That was what I loved doing. However, when I was practicing in urban exploration in the days before Haunted Collector, there were none of those devices. And anything that we had used in the early days, we didn't have inventors like Gary Galka making millimeters and REM pods for us. We had to use things from other vocations, from an electrician's toolkit, a carpenter's toolbox, EMF detectors. We would use, even going further back, just basic things, baby powder, ropes, toy cars. If you wanted to look at a little bit of the metaphysical tools, I was never a big fan of dowsing rods, but in the past decade since Haunted Collector, I've gotten quite comfortable and adept at using a pendulum. So for me, tech is a tool, but it's one of many. And a lot of times people will come to me and they'll tell me this. They'll say, Brian, we love how you think outside of the box. And I take a step back and I say, no. It's not that I'm thinking outside of the box. It's that I refuse to acknowledge a box. Because while I'm thinking of all the other things, the things inside the box, I want to keep that too. I want to have all the options available to me. You can only build what's on the cover of the Lego box if you have all the pieces.
That's a nice point. So you did Haunted Collector, and you've gone on to do other things. But what were some of your favourite memories from doing the show?
There's so many. I wish the audience had gotten to see more of the smiles and the fun and the interactions between us, because in the first season, you got to see a little bit of that. You got to see the interplay between John and the rest of us and the way we interacted with each other. But then in season 2, we lost Beth, one of the investigators. She went to go start a family and get married. We got 2 other investigators to replace her, Jason and Jesselyn. And now that the cast was a little larger, the story beats had to hit to everyone. But at that point in American broadcasting, they really wanted to stick with the Ghost Hunters cookie cutter. Everything must go like this, no variations. And what made our show different was that it was about haunted objects, and it was about a family. We weren't really cast together. We, for the most part, all knew each other before the show. Obviously, John's kids, Beth and myself, had been friends with John for many years before the show. So when they said it's a family, it really was. And getting to see that, because pick a show, pick your favorite show. It's probably the same as every other show out there, but what you love about it are the people, the characters. And I wish we had gotten to see more of that, because whether we were in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, New York, Louisiana, wherever we went, it was tough. It was hard work. We were a show that filmed over the winter months, but we were a family and we had a good time. We had a lot of fun.
And we were talking before at the start about the whole sort of emergence of sort of haunted objects and dolls and things like that. I'm not really familiar with that. Can you maybe explain the idea? Because obviously I know the idea of a haunted house or a but something inside an object. Can you explain that whole idea to me?
It's funny because when the show first premiered, there was a general ignorance of haunted objects being valid, and for a long time, the first year or so, people just thought it was a gimmick, and we would get so much flack on social media for it that nowadays you look around, and again, we talked about how many people have haunted museums, traveling haunted museums, how many people are going about with haunted dolls and haunted this and haunted that. But back in my day with Haunted Collector, they weren't ready to accept that yet. But if you think of it this way, the universe, everything is energy and vibration. And that being said, a haunting, a spirit, the soul, whatever we want to term it, is just more energy. So whether it be residual or intelligent, how it interacts with an object can be twofold. Now, let's take a step back. When there's a haunting, we try to get down to the bottom of what could be causing it. Sometimes it's the land. Sometimes it's a house. Sometimes it's the person who's haunted. Sometimes it's an object. So it's pretty much the same thing. Nothing has changed. There's no X factor that makes this a different kind of haunting. It's just on a more localized, specific scale.
Sorry, Brian. Yeah, I was just going to say there, my take on it, especially with the investigations that I've done. To me, my feeling with it is that it's not so much like that the object itself is haunted. Would you agree that it's more that the energy or whatever, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, has whether it be an affection or some kind of memory connection, almost like a stone tape element, where it's just coveting it and it doesn't want to let it go, rather than being within that object?
There are a number of different ways to look at that. I find that one to be a little bit reductive in that it takes a person and a personality and it reduces them down to a very basic, this is mine, I need this, don't touch it, I can't let it go. And while that can happen, I've noticed that the majority of haunted object cases kind of fall into one of two categories. The first one being that, yes, the item has some sort of connection, be it constant or through the free will of a spirit, a constant revisitation of, oh, yes, this used to belong to me. It has some of that person's energy on it in a cellular way, causing things to happen. Or the second, and I find this might be even more common, is that the object isn't haunted in and of itself, but it acts as a catalyst for existing energy at a site. Now, for instance, there was a museum we investigated in Kentucky, and there were two objects that we discovered did not mesh together well. Their energies did not go. But before we discovered this, the full range of activity was going on in the museum, and they couldn't figure out why, but it all seemed to happen when this new object was brought in. Now, if you look at a couple of different factors, A, the belief that construction or renovation causes an uptick in activity. Now, many old school people say, well, spirits don't like change. And again, I find that to be incredibly reductive. What seems more likely is that the energy in a room, in a location, all right, you knock down a wall, that energy can now flow differently. It can flow better. So either A, new energy was able to come in, and that's because of the uptick in activity, or perhaps there was something dormant that now has license to flow freely. And we see this with the haunted objects, and that, yeah, maybe there was dormant paranormal energy in a location, but you bring in this new item acting as a catalyst. Perfect example in science. You take a room, you fill half of the room with hydrogen atoms, half of the room with the oxygen atoms. Over time, very slowly, they will intermingle. You will get water, H2O. If you want it to happen quicker, bring in a catalyst, something like maybe a piece of platinum. Introducing into that room, boom, you will get a chemical reaction that causes these to bond quicker. There will be obviously a rush of energy and then a very moist room. Consider that piece of platinum the haunted object.
We're getting very scientific here, but you did explain it very well, and I understand it. So I understand the idea now. When I hear about people talk about haunted objects, I always want, would you want one in your house though? That's why I find very interesting that people want to collect these dolls and bits and pieces. I don't know that I'd want. Do you have anything like that in your house, Anne?
No.
Do you, Brian?
No, I collect Blu-rays, I collect books, I collect music. Haunted objects, that's the old man. I leave that to John Zaffis.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, it sounds a bit scary to me. I mean, it'd be like bringing disease type things into your house. You don't really want it, do you?
No.
It's like collect dead cats or something like that. But anyway, that's to each their own. So you did the haunted collector, and in the last couple of years you've done paranormal caught on tape. That's a very different type of show, though.
Paranormal Caught on Camera, we just began
Caught on
filming
camera, sorry. Yep.
this season. I'm
Sorry.
not sure what season you guys have over there yet, but it kind of trickles out to the rest of the world as we film it. But I've been having a great time, and what I think is important about the show, because it's an examination of videos and clips from all over the world. On every other show, you have the team, they go in, they film, this is what happened, and here's the clip, here's the evidence. Because they got it, they have to stand behind it. With Paranormal Caught on Camera, I wasn't there. I can have a unbiased view of what I'm looking at. And if I don't believe in it, I don't have to say so. So the show is not meant to force a belief on the audience. It's not saying, look, you must believe this. But what it is there to do is to get the conversation started. Here's a clip. Let's talk about it. What do you think? What could this be? What was it?
It does. It works. I was watching an episode the other night, actually, and it's the fact that the first thing I like about it is when it goes to the experts. It's not an all singing, all dancing with a big stage. It's just them saying, right, you've just seen this clip. Tell us what you think. And it is, and there's so many different opinions, and nothing's being forced on you. It's leaving you to make your own objective opinion at the end of it based on what you've just heard. And it's so different because you are not being prompted in a particular direction. Like, it literally goes from someone saying, yeah, I actually think that's an intelligent haunting that's actually slamming that door shut with force, to someone else saying, well, I think it's more likely to be a breeze, to someone else saying it's residual energy. It's that kind of open, which is really refreshing. Is that one of the reasons that drew you to it?
Well, I came on. Well, it was a new concept. It was a new show when it was presented to me, and after Haunted Collector, in the years that followed, anytime I would get an email from a producer to be on a show, it would go something to the effect of, "Okay, there's a guy. He's a cab driver by day. He hunts ghosts at night. You'll be his tech guy." That old chestnut. And I would explain to them that, all right, if John Zaffis wants to go back out on the road, I'll follow him and be his tech guy 7 days out of the week. But random person that you could put me with, I don't know them, I don't trust them, and I feel like I've grown since then. We all have.
Yeah.
We're not those people anymore. But when Paranormal Caught on Camera wrote, they said, oh, well, this is a clip show. So what does that mean? What will I be doing? Oh, you could watch some videos and you could comment on it. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking this could be some campy thing where there's going to be lots of sound effects and boing, oh, hey, oh my God, look at that. It's crazy. I can't believe what I just saw. I asked, well, who else is attached to this project? And the first name they gave me was Rosemary Ellen Guiley. I'm in. That's all they needed to say. Rosemary was a prolific author, wrote a lot about the subject. She was a serious researcher. So if it was good enough for Rosemary, I said yes. And we filmed our first episode on Halloween 2019.
Very
So
good.
it didn't turn out to be America's spookiest home videos. Then it was a proper show.
Oh no.
No, that's what I've
And
always thought.
talking to people that you kind of admire in the field, of the British greats, who would be your favourite and why?
Favorite? It's a good question. I don't get to see too much paranormal programming, and especially
Well, not even programming. I'm even
in
thinking
the
of
UK.
paranormal investigators. You know, the Peter Underwoods, the Prices. You know, are there any
Oh,
of those that
oh
you would?
yeah. I mean, you talk about Harry Price, and this is something that I've noticed, and I don't know if this is kind of a royal echo, but I noticed in history, William's bad, Harry's good. William H. Mumler, William Hope, spirit photographers, caught for being frauds. Who caught them? People like Harry Price, investigator, the original ghost hunter. Harry Houdini, famous for pointing out fraudulent mediums and psychics and the like. And as I was doing my research, it was just very weird that Williams are looking to pull something over on you and Harry's are looking to expose. I mean, behind that.
Okay,
Oh,
so there you go. I never thought of it that way, but that's
really?
a good
Yeah.
way. So well, you'll be going in the footsteps of a lot of these people, and you'll be going to Wales, and you'll be doing some interesting things. One of the things we want to, before we go, talk to you about your new book. Uh, can you maybe give people a rundown of what they're going to find when they get a copy of their book and they get that on Amazon or elsewhere, wherever they get their books from?
Grains of sand, as you're getting a piece of me. You're getting my experiences that took the breadth of time for me to realize. And I say that fate plays the long game. These are things that in the moment I didn't realize. Like I said, I'm looking at a grain of sand, thinking nothing of it, dropping it at my feet. And in the book, there's 22 chapters, each one a different experience, something that the paranormal taught me that I really wasn't able to recognize or accept at the time. And for me, this represents 20 years of experience, even more, because there's tales from when I was younger, before I got officially started on my paranormal journey, up through Haunted Collector, Paranormal Caught on Camera, and there's tales from all over the world.
Mm. It sounds like a really good insight in some of the work you've done. Before we go, and we were talking about the Welsh trip, and you'll be here. That'll be in July, and we're going to put a link to that. Which is really excited for anyone who goes on that with you, because I mean, surely it really is a bucket list for me. Some of the places you're going. Your exhibition. Will we ever see that in the UK
I hope so. My
And
original
Ireland.
goal
and Ireland?
was,
In Ireland, but yeah, well.
yes, the original
You
goal
could
of
come
it
over here,
was,
Anne, and do that. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, go on, Brian.
if you can get a ship for me to bring it on, I can have it all through, everywhere, on every island.
Okay, so it's a
The
big,
original
chunky
goal,
thing then.
yes, yes, it'll tank. It'll be the tanker of the paranormal.
Oh, okay, so I've said. So, how do people see that? Well, you obviously bring it around. It's a traveling exhibition, is it, or is it somewhere they go see?
It's a traveling exhibition. The goal right now is to get it to all 50 states. 7 down, 43 to go, and then I will branch out to different territories, different countries.
Okay, well, we'll see that. So, we're looking forward to when you get here in Wales. Anne, is there any other questions you want to ask Brian before we let him go?
I don't know. I'd say just the one thing, the great analogy I saw in an interview you did, where you describe paranormal investigating like a roller coaster, where you'd actually said that it was the equivalent of waiting in line for 3 hours. Yeah,
Very true. I forgot I said that, but true.
yeah. Basically, David, what he said was it's because people think it is glamorous on TV, and as someone that does paranormal investigating, I'm like, it's not like that
Yeah,
at all.
I think it's been quite kind if you say 3 hours. Sometimes I think.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
but he was saying like for the roller coaster, and then you
That's right.
have
And
45 seconds of
yeah,
blown mind, and then you said when you get off, you don't remember being in the queue. You're like, let's do it again.
Let's go right back.
And
it
that
is.
hasn't changed. And when you get to new things like coming to Wales and that kind of experience, do you feel almost like your own theme park that you can go in and have these experiences with a bit more fun than you would have to do, say, making a series? Do you look forward to these events a bit more?
Well, the thing that I love about the travel, and especially where I am currently in my paranormal journey, I equate every decade, every 10 years to one school level. So 20 years, I'm entering my 21st year. So I'm a junior, freshman, sophomore, junior, and then I'll be a senior, and then on to the masters. But I no longer feel the need to prove. I just want to experience. I want to quantify. I want to maybe get some theory, get some formula down. So it allows me to travel the world, go to these places, and really, instead of looking down at my gadgets, look up, look around, let it come to me.
Brilliant.
Sounds great. All right. Well, thank you for that, Brian. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you when you get here to Wales, and maybe getting to see you in person. Maybe it's been a lot of fun. And as I say, all the links will be down the bottom here in a YouTube video, and including your own website, so people could find out more about wherever they might be, if they can be lucky enough to see your exhibition. So we'll bid you good evening, Anne. Good evening.
Thanks a million, Brian, and good evening to you, David. That sounds
Thank you.
very Alfred
It's very
Hitchcock, doesn't it?
It's very posh, isn't it? Anyway, all right. See you all later then. That's more like me. All right. Bye bye. Bye bye.